Welcome to Ask the Oracle. In this episode, we will continue our one-shot example of EZD6. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Ask the Oracle, and in this series I will be your host. I am MJ. I am a scratch builder, a wargamer, and role player, jack of all trades and a master of none of those things. But in this video, we will continue with EZD6, and in this series in general, for those of you who haven't seen the previous episodes, this series explores solo role-playing primarily. We will look at a wide variety of different RPGs in my collection, and we will go over character creation, combat system, and of course, very importantly, we will also do one-shot games of these systems to get an idea of how the systems work. Now, in this series, I will use a wide variety of different techniques, basically anything at my disposal. Handmade maps, a lot of these things are handmade. I will use, cardboard markers, pen and paper, actual miniatures, whatever we have at our disposal to have a little bit of visual aid during our games. Okay, so bear with me as I explore the techniques. Haven't quite decided yet what to do. Primarily, we're exploring this as we go along. And also, don't mind my drawings. I'm not exactly an artist when it comes to drawing. We just do very basic stuff to try and get the point across, move the story, and more importantly, have fun. That is the key to all of this, to enjoy our role-playing games. And to maybe give some ideas for anyone who wants to start role-playing solo. Okay, well, without further ado, if you want to help support the channel, you can check out our Patreon or our YouTube memberships, which are now open. And we will have bonus material there, including war games and role-playing games as well. Okay, so a lot of extra content goes to those platforms. Okay, and in this first few episodes, we are concentrating on EZD6, and I am playing this game solo. This is a rule set by DM Scotty, and he also has a quest book out for this game, and we will be exploring the quest Pest Control. That is the main idea to this game. Now, so spoiler alert, if you don't want to, if you are playing the quest Pest Control, or you're looking to get the book and you kind of want it to be a surprise, all right, this is a spoiler alert. I will be using a lot of the stuff for the quest Pest Control in this game. Now, this is a very untraditional game because it is set in a hobgoblin kingdom where many of the subjects, the rulers are the hobgoblins, but most of the subjects are goblins. And you also have bugbears. We have a few orc tribes that are still in the area, and we have ogres and that kind of, those kinds of fantasy races. So the characters here are very untraditional. We have Raza, who's our little goblin delver. We'll meet her shortly. You can also check out the previous episodes. I've given information about her and her character creation all the way in episode 1. Okay, so I won't be giving too much detail about them. We're just going to try and develop the two main characters with this video. So we have Raza the Goblin Delver, and we have her loyal companion and friend, a very large bugbear by the name of Varric. And Varric was a gladiator in the hobgoblin arenas of the capital. He won his freedom through his muscle and strength. And now adventuring across the lands. He's come across Raza, and they've been traveling for a while together. And he is her loyal friend. It's a partnership that works. Now, Raza herself is an expert little delver. Another term for that would be like a dungeoneer character. She has a lot of knowledge of subterranean areas, and she herself is of a goblin race. There are many goblin races spread throughout this region, and she is of a goblin race that, well, is primarily subterranean. So let me introduce to you my setup. Here is my primary, this is a visual aid, and this is where we will have the battle board primarily. Okay, I am using Heroscape tiles or some of my own tiles to represent regions of battle when we need it. We have some miniatures here. We have some colored gems and some index card versions of the characters. EZD6 has very, very little in terms of like stats and numbers and things to keep track of. So you can keep stuff in a index card for, for room, to save on room. We have our dice, D6s, of course. And we have one of my maps that we will be using now to describe what's going on and when Raza and Varric get to the town of Grimerest. I'm going to learn about that in a minute. We have my graph paper. We have my black book of names right underneath the graph paper book. There are a lot of names there, all kinds of names for characters, for regions, all that stuff. And then we have my computer, which will have the oracles and the rules if we need them. And there is another magnetized map in the back, which shows you the primary region of Myrtilon. It's a much sort of broader scale. And there we also mark where Raza and Varric are. And then finally, we have the character sheets, the actual character sheets that we created for Raza and Varric, and any other characters that are going to join. And this is my play area, but this is very subjective. You don't need all this stuff to actually play. This is just me. This is what I like to have available to give you guys some visual aid. All right, let's go to this center map. So in our last episode, here we've marked the location of where Raza and Varric were originally. This red gem represents the battle that they had in the last episode with some orc raiders, where the poor merchant Ragsnick met his doom. He got an arrow to the head, and that was the end of Ragsnick. Varric and Raza then took the mounts off the cart that they were traveling in. They were traveling from a large hobgoblin and goblin town called Crimson Spell all the way to the east, and they were coming in this direction. They decided to trailblaze. They were actually on one of the main roads, which are not depicted on this map, the Crimson Road. It's not depicted on this map, but they decided to trailblaze a sort of game trail, which is now a lot wider because of all the cart traffic that in recent years has come through here. A lot of merchants use this as sort of a shortcut. And so the goblins, the forest goblins of the region, have built a small bridge here where a stream crosses through. Now this stream is long. It continues down to the south and innervates some of the forested and clearings of this region, and it innervates it like a giant artery, just kind of branches out into various portions of the Blackthorn Wood. And this is the primary wooded area. It's a very, very dense wood filled with very large trees that connect in the canopy, form a thick canopy. Therefore, the forest ground is dark and damp, covered in mosses. There are lichens, many mushrooms in this area, including some giant mushrooms. And basically, the forest floor is actually very clear. There is a very thick forest litter layer fills the region, okay? And that's because these giant trees also shed a lot of their leaves in the wintertime and formed this thick, soft layer of forest litter. Okay, and this is pretty much true of all of the wooded area around here. So Raza and Varric would have traveled here past this stream. This stream is very shallow, just that here in this region it becomes problematic for carts. So the local forest goblins built a little bridge to aid the merchants in their travel. And so Raza and Varric would have traveled with the mounts here, and then they come across this sort of fork in the road here, and the road, which is known as the Grime Road, they wouldn't have known that right away. This is the Grime Road North. We have Grime Road South, basically a dirt road. These are simple forest towns and things like that, so the road would be a dirt road, wide enough to let carts and other mounts and things like that go through. But anyway, Grime Road North would go north deep into Blackthorn Wood, and then there is a clearing here, mostly field and kind of rolling terrain, gently rolling terrain. Mostly grasses here, and basically Raza and Varric would then go into town. This region is controlled by a hobgoblin lord named Rukon Tosh. Rukon Tosh, himself a veteran of the liberation wars that took place many years ago, wars which formed the kingdom of Murtalan and gave the hobgoblins their rule. By the spill of blood and the swing of blade, hobgoblins became rulers. And so, for his valor and his participation in this great conflict, Rukon Tosh was awarded a region, a territory, like many lords within Murtalan. He was awarded a region which includes all of this. He is steward of the Blackthorn Wood region and all of the goblin forest towns that exist here. Today, Rukon Tosh is actually a warrior turned merchant. He is a member of the almost cult-like organization called the Kur of Ash, which in Hobgoblin means the Merchant Lords. He has made a pretty coin out of this region and out of his many businesses. But there is a problem here. And we see the problem right here in this little blue gem marks it. Basically this whole region here. We have seen many a giant spider here lately. Now these spiders are not endemic to this region. In fact, they just showed up not too long ago, not even a week ago. These giant spiders have begun terrorizing the mushroom cultivators, the loggers, the hunters that come out of both of these towns, including Grimerest and the town of Grimbark, which is up here, neighboring forest town up north. We're not going to deal with them in this game. We're dealing primarily with Grimerest, but it's basically terrorizing this region. Now, where do these spiders come from? Nobody knows. These multi-legged menace has killed quite a few loggers lately, and also mushroom cultivators that come out to the region to gather their mushroom trophies. And not even the forest druids or shamans are able to explain the appearance of this new arachnid menace. Have reached the ears of Rukon Tosh, and he has now decided to become involved. But Rukon Tosh does not want to send his valuable troops here. As I said, Lord Tosh is dealing with an uprising in the north. His troops are up there. It is very costly to send troops to different places, especially since this is his southernmost territory. It really does cost money to send troops two regions. He'd rather it be taken care of locally. And you know, these forest goblins, I mean, they've earned him a pretty coin, and he will obviously protect them. But if not for selfish reasons, you know, these forest folk, they just exaggerate everything. And you know, giant spiders, they're vermin. They can be dangerous, but they're just giant spiders. So he would much rather, instead of using his valuable troops, he would much rather that it be taken care of locally. So what does he do? He offers a great reward to attract the attention of roaming brazens that may be in the area, goblin and hobgoblin brazens alike, maybe even some of the loyal orcish tribes that may exist that are also brazen, that are loyal to the kingdom, unlike those unruly, unlawful individuals that he is dealing with in the north. There are orcish tribes that are loyal to the king and queen. So he offers this reward, and he sends, we're going to look in my little magic book of names here. He sends War Chief Kilhem. Kilhem is actually a bugbear war chief who himself has earned many of Lord Tosh's favors, and he is now war chief of the region. He is also the clawed hand of Lord Tosh, and being the clawed hand, he will go where Lord Tosh bid him to go. And so he takes a few of his his closest hobgoblin bodyguard, and he goes down with a very small caravan that includes the wagon of reward, and sends that caravan through another portion of the wilderness, probably another road, not affected by this problem, and into Grimerest. And that's where Kilhem currently resides, and he's currently attracting the attention of any brazen in the area. And of course, Lord Tosh himself would send his connections forth and send word everywhere that any brazen interested in dealing with this vermin problem, this pest control, can go down to the town of Grimerest, where there is a reward for taking care of this problem. Now here is the town of Grimerest. Okay, and it's marked with this green gem. That's what this green gem represents, the town itself. And we have this sort of circular kind of view of the town here. What would Raza and Varric see when they get into the town? Raza and Varric would see buildings of stone and wood, usually odd shapes, round shapes, or typical squarish shapes like you would see in human dwellings, in human cities or towns. But these would be constructed of stone and wood, and more importantly, they would be covered in mosses and lichens. The wooden portions, including some of the roofs, would have mushrooms growing out of them and fungi, which the goblins seem to encourage. Some of the buildings would also be covered in ivy, which then the whole village or town is probably not a proper name, because this is a very small, more like a hamlet than an actual town, but it does have quite a few ground buildings, ground installations. Some of these would have a very sharp, tall, coned roofs. They would be adorned with all kinds of wood carvings of strange imp-like creatures or forest creatures that would adorn the sides of the roofs. Wooden doors, which would be either your typical rectangular doors or even round doors to some of the buildings. The architecture varies. The buildings are pretty strong, especially since they have all this plant growth on them. They are fairly strong structures. Now, up above in the trees themselves, the large blackthorn trees of this region, They would also see tree houses. There would be structures in the trees where these goblins also live. Maybe some of the mushroom growing installations would also be up high in the canopy. There would be ropes and pulleys crisscrossing all of these tree houses and platforms. There would be lookout platforms with some of the town's guard, maybe the occasional guard tower as well. And basically the hamlet, or we'll call it a hamlet, would be built around a cluster of these blackthorn trees. There would be some kind of fence, which some of these forest towns or hamlets lack. But Grimerest does have a fence, and this fence is, fairly simple in construction, basically just sharpened logs tied together with rope that seems to go around the town. Now, Varric and Raza would notice some fortifications as they went in. Now, remember, they don't really know about this problem, so Varric and Raza don't know yet about this problem. They are going to learn very soon about the giant killer spiders that reside near the town and are causing havoc. But for the time being, they will see some of the forest goblins building, kind of digging in, building fighting trenches and sharpened sticks everywhere, and pikes that they've put along the fence to reinforce it. Many of the goblin folk here are green-skinned or have lichen growth that kind of adorns the bottom of their chin, pointy chins, like some kind of strange beard. For those not accustomed to the forest cultures, it can be a very strange sight, okay, even for Raza and Varric. So they would see this bugbear in the center of a kind of a crowd of goblins, well-armed goblins, and a few hobgoblins. There's a couple of orcs also walking around the town streets. The streets are nothing more than just little dirt roads that kind of connect all the buildings. And so the town is, there's all this activity in the town. By the way, Varric and Raza travel mostly at night. A lot of these towns are nocturnal, so they would arrive here early in the evening, okay? So that's very important. So it is dark. The glowing mushrooms would kind of provide even more of an interesting and surreal look to the town, okay? So they see this bugbear, and he's shouting things to the crowd, and obviously some kind of recruitment operation is going on, and he goes on to mention the great Lord Tosh and how Lord Tosh needs your help, and he has this great reward for any who would deal with the arachnid menace, he would yell out. And there are all manner of small groups that are being registered or recruited. There is a goblin next to him, a larger goblin, about 3.5, almost 4 feet tall, taller than any of these forest folk or than Raza herself. And this individual is also greenish skinned, but a very large head, and a kind of pointy, very pointy, long nose. We see him there. And he is writing something with a piece of charcoal, parchment, which he is using to write. And apparently, as Raza and Varric can tell, he is writing, taking names or registering or recruiting, doing something of that sort. Now, before we continue, I want to ask the Oracle. First of all, because by now Raza and Varric would hear of this threat, this arachnid threat. I want to know, how much does Raza or Varric know about giant spiders? Okay, so this is the Fate Oracle that I'm using, and here is the actual Oracle, and then if we scroll down, here is the likelihood of an answer being yes, and there is a small modifier table. So, Raza, we're going to start with Raza. She very likely has some kind of experience with giant spiders or vermin, because she was part of a team in her mining town, in native mining town up north. And this team, she went out and literally located monster layers or, creatures that may be problematic to the mining efforts, okay? And that may be a danger to the mining efforts. And so Raza's expertise was to locate these things and lead the guard to them and destroy them, okay? So Raza herself is a pretty good fighter, and she's pretty confident. And so I'm going to say, because of that, that the likelihood of Raza at least knowing something about giant spiders is going to be likely. Now we're going to take our die, and we're going to roll it. And she rolls a 6. And with a +1 is 7, so yes, it breaks the scale here. So the answer is yes, and the Oracle has spoken. Yes, this little lady does have a knowledge of giant spiders and their habits, and she has dealt with several different species of these giant vermin, and well, she's quite confident. Now Varric, I'm going to give Varric a 50-50. Okay, and the reason is that Varric was a gladiator of the arenas, and there is a chance, a 50-50 chance, that giant spiders or vermin like this were actually used in the arena as opponents. But let us see. He rolls a 1. No, and the Oracle has spoken. So our champion Varric doesn't really know about giant spiders, doesn't really care, and if anything, just show me where they are. That's basically his whole attitude on it. So, okay, well, that's what the Oracle has provided us, the answers that it has provided us with. Okay, so let's speed things up a little bit. So it would not be good, it would be an embarrassment to Lord Tosh if these brazen, or better yet, if Kilham, the war chief that he has sent to represent him, if Kilham's brazen and efforts do not succeed, and this spider threat gets out of hand, and Lord Tosh has to actually send troops to this region, it wouldn't be very good. Not good for Lord Tosh's reputation, not good for business, and whatever is not good for Lord Tosh, you can bet is not good for War Chief Kilham. So Kilham does have a vested interest that this gets taken care of as well, and that these brazen succeed. So he will be trying to convince and offer this reward. Not only reward, but he would be offering a seal of the Lord's favor. Now this seal, only the clawed hand of the Lord can offer, and it comes straight from the Lord, whatever Lord of whatever region. And this seal is part of a letter that then gives the Lord's favor in his region to whoever possesses it. What does this favor mean? It could be a variety of things. It could be discounts at shops. It could be free get out of jail card, so to speak, as well, right? It could be a number of different things. That's something that Raza and even Varric would understand this, because in the arenas where he fought, this kind of policy, a similar policy was also in place. You know, if you were did your job and killed a lot of things and made entertainment and filled the coin of the merchants and the populace that watched these battles take place, then you would earn a similar seal, okay? But in the arena, this seal would be a tattoo, which was tattooed to the warriors. Varric has such a tattoo, and he displays it. So this would instantly attract Killam, War Chief Killam, and he would actually make his way to Raza and Varric, mostly because of Varric, and very interested in maybe recruiting Varric because he sees Varric is of quality. And he would probably be a little bit intrigued. I'm not going to roll for any of this stuff. He would probably be a little intrigued at the little goblin lady sitting on Varric's shoulder. Killam would approach Raza and Varric and explain the situation, and these giant arachnid menace cannot continue. This vermin has to be exterminated, and this comes from the Lord Tosh himself. Now, Raza and Varric may not be familiar with Lord Tosh, but they know he's a lord. I mean, they would understand the basic politics of the region, even if they don't know much about the area. And so they would understand that this is a big thing. And so the problem is that it's only Varric and Raza, and the Lord has... the Lord is a strange fellow, powerful as he may be. He has said that there has to be 3 members to a party, any brazen party, minimum of 3 members, and there should be a magic user involved to ensure that this arachnid menace is destroyed once and for all. That is the condition. 3 minimum. There's only 2 of them, Raza and Varric. So, Killam has the solution. And he says, but no worries. Go to the Tustin, that building there with all the lichens and mosses draped over the stone. The one with the boar head and the huge tusks. The Tustin. In there you will find my friend Skarbadin is his name. Enter the Tustin and ask for Skarbadin. In fact, you may not have to ask, for there's no one there. The town is empty. The goblins are afraid of the menace, and are many are those that are not helping with the fortification efforts would probably be in their homes. Some of them are secretly leaving the town. They will probably never be able to return. If they do that, they are seen as cowards. But Skarbadin is the name that he is given. This is a close friend of Killam. And unfortunately, Skarbadin has not been able to join a group. And so he sits waiting for the opportunity, and the gods have answered. The dark gods have answered, because here you are. I think you will make fine companions for Scar. Already, we don't know what kind of deal they have here or what's going on, but he is a conjurer and a practitioner of the arts, and so I mean that would neither Raza nor Varric know anything of magic, really. Varric doesn't really care much about magic. He has seen some strange things maybe in the arena, and so would Raza. She would probably have worked with conjurers underground for various things. But, you know, they don't know anything about magic specifically, just that it can be very useful. And so, to speed things along, I think Varric and Raza would definitely, Raza especially, would definitely take this offer, even though they just got to this town, basically. Just, they haven't eaten anything. They haven't, you know, they've been on the road for a while. They just fought a battle for with these raiding orcs. You know, they were assaulted on the road. The poor merchant they were accompanying, arrow through the head. That's something that Varric would probably not want to let out, because it doesn't look good for Varric either. I mean, Raza and Varric were kind of hired to escort this poor merchant who got an arrow to the head. Okay, so it wouldn't look good, so they would probably want to cover that, you know, not say anything about that. But anyway, it's a good way to make coin, and a good way to get a lord's seal of approval. Immediately upon entering the Tusk Inn, Raza and Varric would notice a wall to their left with an immense collection of tusks and trophies. There are some skulls in between the arrangements of tusks along the wall. And these tusks are arranged in different patterns along the wall, giving the wall a very strange kind of look to it, right? The patron space has a few tables. It's very empty. Everything is empty here. There's only an orcish individual sitting here, and there is a older goblin individual here. We will identify him in a minute. And basically, that's what they would see in the Tusked Inn. Okay, this wall here would be the main point of curiosity, and these are trophies gathered probably by the hunters of the town, or who knows. The air smells of cooked meat, and perhaps with a little tinge of fungi smell to it as well. So let's check my homemade oracle and just see. This is a mood table. Let's see what happens. 5, friendly. All right. Well, it seems like this individual, probably the owner or of this establishment, and he greets Raza and Varric with a friendly, toothy grin. And Raza, of course, would probably be the one to speak out and say, "We're looking for an individual named Scarbin." Scarbadin, Varric corrects. "Ah, yes, Scarbadin. Scarbadin is his name, and he is a practitioner of the arts," she would say. By now, the bartender, who again maintains his smile, I believe that would be that individual over there. And he points to where this red gem is, an orcish gentleman sitting here. And he would say, he introduced himself as Scar. So it could be the individual that you're looking for, perhaps. And so, is there anything else that I can help you with? And, well, Raza and Varric have been traveling. Raza does have moderate wealth, and Varric has what's called in EZD6 a level of cash poor wealth, which means a few coins, a few silver drakes. That is part of the money system in this kingdom. And Raza would have a few gold chimeras, and these are the gold coins of the region. So they would probably order some food, whatever they have available, because in the establishment looks empty. A description of Scar. Scarbadin is a fairly large orc. Not as large as Varric is, but he's fairly large. He has green skin, long pointy ears, a mane of white hair, and this mane connects on his cheeks with more trimmed, kind of almost beard-like mane on his cheek. He appears almost like a lion in that sense. He has a long snout connected to his strong head features, and large tusks that project upward from his lower jaw. This is the miniature that I have chosen for Scar. And he also has what appears to be simple clothing, like a leathery cloak in the rear, a lot of pouches on his belt. He also has a staff, which appears nothing more than a carved stick. Give Raza a spot check, see if she notices anything else of interest. Difficulty 3, and she rolls a 3. Okay, so she does notice that despite the fact that the staff looks almost like a plain stick, it is adorned with various metallic rings up on the upper portion of the staff, and there are some very intricately carved runes of fine quality all along the shaft of the staff. Now, on Scar's shoulder, the most peculiar an interesting thing is an imp-like creature that rests on Scar's shoulder. The creature hisses as Raza and Varric approach. Between an introduction and then a conversation would ensue between Scar, Raza, and Varric, who are immediately invited to sit at the table. Some food is brought to them by the wiry little goblin female that brings them some food and drink, and then rushes back to the rear of the establishment, disappears behind a door. And this orc individual immediately gives Raza the impression that this is no normal tribal orc. This orc, there is a spark of intelligence. This is a learned individual, and under those golden eyes that appear almost cat-like, under that intense gaze, there is intelligence and education. And conjurers in this region, their magic is so they just keep it to themselves. It's something that there's still a debate within the kingdom as to what is considered legal magic, what is considered dark magic, what kinds of dark magic can be allowed, and all this stuff. And so many conjurers will keep this information a bit vague, all right, so to speak. But we will obviously learn what kind of conjurer he is as soon as his magic is put into play. And so outside the Tusked Inn, Scar, Varric, and Raza would meet with Kilham and his assistant again. A couple of very well-armed hobgoblin soldiers behind them. And Kilham would be thrilled and would offer a bag to them as a part of the reward, I guess, something that will aid them in this mission. And the bag contains 1 antidote and 2 healing potions. He bids them farewell, and then he says, just wait a few minutes before so that the goblin scouts that we sent out return, and you will join one of these goblin scouts, and he will show you the way to the menace. And just like Kilham says, not too long after, a wide-eyed goblin scout, a single scout, returns, wide-eyed, kind of wiry, very obviously scared and smelling of goblin bodily fluids. He kind of approaches, and Kilham immediately wiggles his nose and kind of orders the scout without further ado to escort this new group of brazen to the location of the threat, and that be it. And as much as this little goblin tries to explain his predicament, he is given an order by the war chief, a big war chief at that. So he reluctantly accepts and now becomes the little leader, and again a very frightened little goblin scout who will then escort this new brazen group into the forest, into unknown danger. Well, folks, I'm going to leave it here. I'm sorry if there was no fighting or battle. We didn't see any of the, battle system. We will in the next episode, because the next episode I anticipate there's going to be a lot of fighting and encounters and stuff, because our brazen are going to go into the wood to locate these giant mutant spiders, which Raza's not worried about, right? But we're going to see what happens, okay? This is inspired by the quest Pest Control, and of course you guys probably notice that I'm going to be changing some stuff in the quest to fit the story, mostly the wording of the tables and stuff. And a lot of this stuff I just made up. It's part of my goblin story, right? So, yeah, that's going to be very important. In the next episode, we'll see how a lot of the tables work. Now, one thing I want to say before I go, EZD6 is very good for playing solo. It's a very simple system. You notice I didn't roll a lot during the storytelling portion of the video. I used the Oracle a couple of times, but really, it's a very easy system. Great system for first-time solo role players. Another thing I want to say is that in the quest book, one of the most interesting things about the quest book is a series of tables, encounter tables, that is tailored for every quest. So Pest Control has its own encounter table, and you can roll on this. There's something like 20 different encounters or 18, something like that. But these encounters are specific for every adventure. And whether you're playing this with friends or you're playing this solo, it really helps because you can generate encounters quickly. And every time you play the adventure, the encounters are a little different because, again, you have a wide list of different encounters that can occur. And you can roll as many times as you want or as little time as you want to add to the quest, okay? So this is a very important part of the quest book and one that I think makes the quest book so good for solo play because of these random tables, okay? We'll see them hopefully next episode. Thank you again, folks, and I hope that you will come back. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to do some role-playing. I'll see you in the next episode, and we may finish this EZD6 series of episodes before we move on to another RPG. Thank you, folks, and we'll talk very soon in Ask the Oracle. We'll see what answers the Oracle has for us next time.